Hi, I'm Mike Brantley, auctioneer, here with you today to talk about what I term good auctioneer licensing and bad or terrible auctioneer licensing. I've been exposed to both. Good auctioneer licensing has very reasonable procedures in place to get a license. I don't think auction school is unreasonable. I think an apprenticeship period can be deemed unreasonable. It's hard for a lot of people to get into the apprenticeship program, finding someone to take them on. I think a test that's written by an auction commission or auctioneers is reasonable, that they have to pass to secure the license. I think a reasonable fee to renew the license. I think continuing education is a great idea, that the license mandates continuing education. So if I was designing a statewide auctioneer license program, I would require auction school. I would require a test written, again, by an auction commission, auctioneers, or auctioneers out in the public, take questions from them, make sure it was realistic, and require an annual license renewal fee, and I would require continuing education. I would also, if I was designing a license program, I would have reciprocal arrangements with other licensed states. So our auctioneers in our state, for example, could get a license in another state through essentially proving your license in your home state. Therefore, you can get a license in the other state without taking a test or repeating auction school and those kind of things. Write a check, get a license in a reciprocal state. I would also design auction licensing, good auction licensing, as I'm calling it, to preempt local licensing. So anything local, there would be no local licensing or permits or anything like that. The statewide license would indeed be a statewide license, preempting local township, city, village, individual licensing. What can make licensing bad? I think apprenticeship can make auctioneering in a state bad, because I think for a lot of people, and particularly in this age where there's online and live auctions, apprenticeships often don't work to the apprentice's advantage. And I think a state is wise to get rid of apprenticeship programs. If you have an apprenticeship type program, I think that's antiquated. I think it needs to get rid of it. That would be one way to make your licensing good. Secondly, I think license agencies should answer questions. I think a licensee should be able to call the license agency and say, hey, I'm looking at the statute, or I'm looking at the rule, or the booklet that you guys publish, and I have a question. I don't know if I can do this or do that, and I would expect an answer. I mean, you're the license agency. You're charged with regulating the industry, regulating licensees. Well, then answer questions. If I have a question, I shouldn't have to get an attorney to review license statutes to decide what I can do or not do. And third, I think a presumption of innocence. A license agency should look at any licensee and say, well, just because there's been a complaint doesn't mean that you're guilty. In licensed states, in a variety of licensed states, someone might feel, well, my property didn't sell for enough, I'm going to file a complaint with the license agency. License agency assumes, well, since the consumer was harmed or feels that they were harmed, that the auctioneer must have done something bad. We're going to presume they're guilty unless they can prove they're innocent. And I think that's backwards. I think you would presume that the auctioneer did everything they're supposed to do unless the consumer could prove that they had not, or with a preponderance of the evidence. So I think a presumption of innocence, I think answering questions, being a resource for auctioneers, helping auctioneers be better auctioneers, help protect the public. And so Bad licensing tends to say, well, we can't answer that question. It says, well, we are going to have an apprenticeship program, but we're not going to have any CE. You can be an auctioneer for 45 years and never take another class, but boy, to get the license, you got to jump through all these hoops. But after that, who cares? I think that's backwards. And I think those license agencies should otherwise just be a resource. Somebody you can go to and say, hey, I want to sit down, I want to talk, let's go to lunch. How are things? How can I do better? What kind of complaints are you seeing? More disclosure, more openness, more willing to work with licensees. Who are the people that pay the fees to keep the license agency open to begin with? So I think there's good auction licensing models out here in the United States. And I think there's bad auction licensing and auctioneer licensing models out in the United States. And I would hope that, I would hope finally here that the good auction licensing sticks around. And quite frankly, that the bad auction licensing either becomes better, good, or we get rid of it. Because I don't think there's any place for a bad way to license auctioneers. Mike Brang, the Auctioneer. Pleasure to be with you today. Other videos on the same page, others forthcoming. Have a great day and stay safe.